Hi, I'm Marty Nemko. I don't know if it's technique-y or good evidence of authenticity that I'm wearing just whatever the hell I was wearing when I got up this morning, a t-shirt, in order to do this little talk with you about what I think is now certainly an undervalued value, which is integrity, or its equivalent authenticity, uh, as opposed to expediency. I also worry that this talk is going to seem sanctimonious, but um, there really are some, I don't know about forgotten virtues, devalued values, vilified virtues, whatever, that deserve greater attention. And at the risk of sounding like an old conservative fart, here are my thoughts. You know, as I look back on my life, I'm 69. Uh, I think that the if I really followed the seemingly simplistic Pollyannish truth, the Miss America truth, that you really fight hard to have as much integrity as you can, even when it's not expedient. And that's the key word. It's easy to have integrity when it serves you. You're going to get a lot of credit. It's not going to really hurt you if you have integrity. But when you show integrity, whether it be honesty or full disclosure of something negative or whatever, when it's going to hurt you, I think that in the end, no guarantees, but you've got a greater chance of living a life well led, feeling good about yourself, and so on. So let's take some examples. Every salesperson, and I'm including people, for example, the media who are trying to trumpet some particular political candidate or party, as well as a nonprofit fundraiser, as well as you or me who's trying to convince some potential romantic partner to go to bed with us or whatever. It's so easy to accept the norm of doing what's expedient. I mean, and political candidates are just, they're dissembling all over the place. There's everything they say is focus group tested, marketing tested. Well, I'll say this, now or it's in the primaries and I want to get my base, so I'm going to say this to the left, and then I'll tack to the center. No wonder we trust politicians, according to every year's Gallup surveys. We trust politicians less than lawyers. And why we avoid the salesperson at all costs, why we end up buying as much as we can online, because we're going to get a straight answer from the collective wisdom of all the people who write reviews of a product on Amazon, rather than a salesperson. I think there are very few of us, for example, who wouldn't welcome being able to buy a car online rather than the car insurance industry, the car sales industry, having blocked every legislation that it would enable, for example, Amazon to sell cars online. So we need to deal with the damn sales guy who's highly trained to manipulate us into buying whether we're ready to buy or not, and to upsell and to get as much profit, and to sell crap like extended warranties and added BS fees like advertising fees and all other crap like that. Who can you trust? I've been in the media my entire life as an adjunct. I'm really a career and personal coach in my main activity. But I've been all over the place in the media, from Time to the Atlantic to the San Francisco Chronicle to KELW, an NPR station in San Francisco. And I have to say, I don't believe they proclaim integrity, but I really believe that they are, at minimum, lazy, intellectually lazy, and unable to pull on restraint of their hubris, thinking that just because they've lived in this bubble of people who have opted out of the real world, went to college, journalism school, and now in the out of the real world bubble of journalists, they have the right to abandon their sacred responsibility to report the truth or report the news, including the full spectrum of responsibly held ideas, instead of using all of their rhetorical ability to manipulate us into buying their worldview. And because of the inordinate power of the media, we end up thinking we believe something, but it's based on this incredibly narrow group of people's worldview, which tends to be of one voice. There may be the most powerful and true example of what they would consider their expediency over their integrity. They're feeling that they know the answer and that they want to teach you their answer, and real integrity would require their not having that hubris, but presenting the full marketplace of ideas and not censoring or censuring dissenting views. It is one of my more strongly held beliefs that the censorship and censorship of the left is far more pervasive and deeper than the McCarthyism from the right that the left keeps harping on 75 years later. I'll talk from that very macro societal perspective to the individual. I briefly alluded to the fact that individuals in relationships are very often interested in selling themselves rather than really describing themselves. That's most visible, of course, in online dating ads, where pictures are obfuscatory. They hide your real age or look, so they have a picture of you from the distance or very grainy, or the one picture that makes you look a hell of a lot better than you really do in real life. And then the description of themselves, in which they only describe their positive attributes, not the negative truths. And it may be over-optimistic for me to say this, but I think that if I were single, I would have an honest picture of myself, an honest portrayal of my strengths and weaknesses, and an honest portrayal of what I'm realistically expecting in a woman, strengths and weaknesses. Of course, I won't get the most dates or the most responses, but I will get well-curated ones, and I will have laid the foundation for a relationship based on integrity than one based on salesmanship. Just for example, obviously I'm not the best-looking guy in the world, and I would have a close-up, head and shoulders shot of me, and I'm not fancy, I don't like clothes and stuff. This is actually what I prefer to wear all the time. So I'd probably have my main profile picture in this. Yeah, I'd probably have a second one with a collared shirt. I would also talk about the fact that, I'm not one of those people who just wants to have fun or mainly wants to have fun. I am obsessed with work and contribution, but never about money. I'm totally not materialistic. So if somebody wants a materialistic lifestyle in a romantic partner, forget it. That's not who I am. If somebody wants to go dancing and vacationing all the time, that's not who I am. But if you want somebody who really tries to live a life of integrity and writes a lot and sees clients and does radio shows and things like that, and then spend little bits of quality time with respect for your partner, then fine. That's very different. And in saying what I want in a woman, it's unrealistic of me to say, for example, I want some gorgeous 10 babe who's, I'd be very candid in terms of what I'd reasonably expect. A kind woman who looks reasonable, who's reasonably self-employed, and finds me appealing, rather than this puffed up stuff. So I want to end by simply inviting you, think about your work life. How much integrity do you have versus expediency? Are you willing to make less money, even live less than a middle-class lifestyle, in favor of what I think is a cosmically wise thing to do, which is to really have great integrity? If you're a salesperson, telling the weaknesses of your product. If you really think the product is wrong for your customer, say, I think in your case you'd be better off with somebody else. Of course, you're not going to break sales records. You probably won't even make your sales quota or your fundraising quota, the nonprofit analog of sales. But I completely believe that in the end, life is better led that way. I swear to you, at least for me, I can't, I'm really pretty confident that I'd rather live with my parents or in a crappy apartment in a shitty neighborhood and live a life of, pretty damn complete integrity than to do the expedient. So ask yourself in your work life, are you as ethical? Do you have as much integrity as you want to have or as you think you should have? In your personal life, with your friends, romantic partners, or even whether you choose to be alone more, or rather than capitulating to the standard norm of having to have a social life. Some people are social and like that, but many people are more introverted and prefer to spend a lot of solo time. Are you living a life of integrity in that regard? Anyway, those are my thoughts for whatever it's worth, ad-libbed. Clearly, especially in the beginning of this little incoherent, like I got going. But if you found this of value, as usual, I welcome your thumbs up, accept your thumbs down, welcome your comments, your sharing, hitting the share button and sharing on your social media. And of course, certainly subscribing to my channel so that perhaps you can see more of what I like to think are my work that really is filled with, if anything, integrity. In any event, I'm Marty Nemko. Thanks for watching.